Some songs don't age. They migrate, from basements to block parties, from cheap speakers to global sound systems, from a moment in history to a permanent place on the dance floor. In the late 1970s, an underground movement exploded quietly. Independent labels, street-level distribution, music made without permission. These weren't designed to last a season, they were built to move bodies. This is the story of 10 songs from the indie boom of the 1970s that will still fill the dance floor in 100 years. Number 10, The Sugar Hill Gang, Rapper's Delight, 1979. Rapper's Delight wasn't supposed to change music. It was supposed to test an idea. Released in 1979 on Sugar Hill Records, the song captured something the industry hadn't figured out how to sell yet, hip-hop as a recorded form. The groove was borrowed, the structure was loose, the verses went on forever, and none of that mattered. What mattered was the rhythm. People didn't dance to the song, they danced inside it. Rapper's Delight turned block party energy into a global instruction manual, call and response, extended grooves, movement without choreography. It didn't need melody, it didn't need polish, it needed space. Is on you, so what you gonna do? Decades later, the beat still works, the flow still lands, the room still moves, because this song isn't about trends, it's about momentum, and momentum doesn't expire. Number 9, Talking Heads, Psycho Killer, 1977. Psycho Killer shouldn't work on a dance floor. There's no big chorus, no obvious groove. The mood is tense, almost uncomfortable, and yet it moves people. Released in 1977, the song came from the New York indie scene, where punk stripped music down and art school anxiety filled the space left behind.
Can't seem to face up to the facts.
The rhythm is rigid. The bass line never relaxes. The beat marches forward without emotion. That's the point. Psycho Killer creates motion through pressure, not release. It traps the listener inside a loop, and the body responds.
Psycho Killer, qu'est-ce que c'est?
Decades later, DJs still drop it when they want to reset a room. Not to explode the floor, but to lock it in. It doesn't age because it never chased warmth. It never flirted with trends. It sounds like a nervous system under fluorescent lights. And that feeling hasn't changed in 50 years. In 100 more, it won't either. Number 8, Suicide, Ghost Rider, 1977. Ghost Rider doesn't invite you to dance, it dares you to. Released in 1977, Suicide stripped music down to its barest components. A primitive drum machine, a single relentless synth pattern, and a vocal that sounded more like a threat than a performance. There was no band, no groove in the traditional sense, no attempt at warmth, and yet the pulse is undeniable. Ghost Rider operates like a machine locked at a perfect tempo. Once it starts, the body falls in line. This wasn't disco, it was pre-industrial dance music, a blueprint for everything from techno to EBM to cold wave. In its time, it was rejected. Too harsh, too empty, too repetitive. A century from now, that repetition will be the reason it survives. Because dance floors don't need comfort, they need consistency, and Ghost Rider never lets go. Number 7, Earth, Wind and Fire, September, 1978. September doesn't belong to a decade, it belongs to people. Released in 1978, the song was built with almost unnatural precision. A bass line that lifts instead of pushes, horns that smile without sounding cute, a rhythm section that never rushes, never drags. Everything locks. The lyrics barely matter. Dates, syllables, sounds, chosen for how they feel, not what they mean. That decision made it immortal. September doesn't carry cultural baggage. It doesn't ask for context. It doesn't age because it never anchored itself to a moment. It's pure function, Drop it in any room, anywhere in the world, and bodies respond the same way. Not ironically, not nostalgically, instinctively. 100 years from now, when the language has changed and the fashions are unrecognizable, the groove will still work, because happiness, when engineered this well, doesn't expire. Number 6. The Modern Lovers. Roadrunner, 1976.
Radio on. I'm in love with modern morning.
Roadrunner is a song that never stops moving. Released in 1976, it sounds less like a performance and more like a vehicle locked at a single speed. The beat is rigid. The rhythm guitar never decorates. The keyboard hovers like passing streetlights. Everything repeats. And that repetition is the engine. Jonathan Richman wasn't chasing dance culture. He was documenting motion. Cars, highways, radio signals bleeding through the night. Roadrunner creates momentum without climax. No breakdown, no release. On a dance floor, that matters, because dancers don't need surprise. They need trust. This song doesn't flirt with the listener. It commits. Decades later, it still works because nothing in it is fashionable. It doesn't sound like 1976. It sounds like movement itself. 100 years from now, people will still move to it for the same reason they always have. Number 5. Blondie. Heart of Glass, 1978. Heart of Glass was never meant to be safe. When Blondie released it in 1978, it confused everyone. Too disco for punk, too cold for pop, too detached to be romantic. That confusion is why it survives. The beat is mechanical, the synths feel distant. Debbie Harry's vocal never begs. Everything floats just slightly above the groove. It doesn't explode, it glides. Heart of Glass works on dance floors because it refuses emotion while delivering motion. There's space inside the track, room for bodies, for lights, for time to stretch. It predicted a future where genres collapse, and rhythm becomes the only language that matters. Decades later, it still feels modern, not retro, not ironic, functional. 100 years from now, when disco is no longer a word people argue about, this song will remain, not because it represents an era, but because it solved a problem dance music never stops having. How to move people without asking them to feel anything at all. Number 4. Gang of Four. Damaged Goods, 1978.
I always do it word.
Damaged Goods turns tension into rhythm. Released in 1978, it came from the UK post-punk scene, where funk wasn't about pleasure, it was about control. The bass line is sharp and exposed, the guitar cuts instead of chords. The drums lock into a groove that feels deliberate, not loose. Everything is restraint.
Your sweat's so sour.
The lyrics dissect power, desire, and transaction like a lab report. No metaphors, no romance, and yet, the floor moves. Damaged Goods works because it separates movement from joy. It proves that dancing doesn't require happiness. It requires structure.
Sweat's running down your neck.
This song created a blueprint for dance music that thinks, a groove that doesn't comfort, but compels. Decades later, its influence is everywhere. From indie dance to techno to minimal funk. 100 years from now, when politics have changed names but not behaviors, this song will still work because power dynamics never disappear. They just change tempo. Number 3. Sylvester. You Make Me Feel Mighty Real, 1978. You Make Me Feel Mighty Real doesn't just fill a dance floor, it transforms it. Released in 1978, the song emerged from the underground disco scene where freedom wasn't theoretical. It was practiced loudly every night. The synth line is elastic. The beat is relentless but joyful. Sylvester's voice doesn't perform strength, it inhabits it. Nothing is ironic here. Nothing is detached. The song commits fully to euphoria. That honesty is why it survives. Mighty Real isn't tied to fashion or trend cycles. It's tied to release, the moment when bodies stop bracing and start moving freely. Decades later, it still resets rooms, not by nostalgia, but by permission. 100 years from now, when identities are named differently and freedoms are redefined, this song will still work, because the needed answers never goes away. On a dance floor, joy isn't optional, it's necessary. Number 2, Donna Summer, I Feel Love, 1977. I Feel Love didn't update dance music, it replaced it. Released in 1977, the track abandoned bands, horns, and human swing in favor of something radical, a fully synthesized rhythm locked to a pulse that never breathes. The beat doesn't push, it persists. Donna Summer's vocal floats above the machine, calm and intimate, as if emotion has learned how to coexist with circuitry. At the time, it sounded alien, even inside disco. Now, it sounds inevitable. I Feel Love is the foundation beneath techno, house, trance, and everything that followed. A song built not for a decade, but for repetition itself. On a dance floor, it doesn't age because it has no surface details to decay. No tricks, no references, just time, looping perfectly. 100 years from now, when dance music is generated by systems we can't yet imagine, this track will still work, because it already was the future. Number 1, Chic, Good Times, 1979. Good Times is not a hit song, it's infrastructure. Released in 1979, Chic distilled decades of funk, soul, and dance music into something perfectly balanced. A bass line that carries the entire room, a groove that never competes with itself, and a rhythm section that understands restraint better than excess. Nothing rushes, nothing overplays. The song creates space for dancers, for DJs, for other songs to be born inside it. That bass line didn't just move people, it built history. Hip-hop, dance pop, house, all of them borrowed from it, looped it, rewrote themselves around it. And still, the original works best. On a dance floor, Good Times doesn't announce itself. It takes over. People move not because they recognize it, but because their bodies already know how, 100 years from now, when genres have dissolved and names have changed, this groove will remain. Because Good Times isn't about an era, it's about balance. And balance never goes out of style.